Hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about stuff. Don't forget to follow me on social media. There are links in the description below. This isn't meant to scare anyone. This isn't meant to give you FOMO. This isn't meant to terrify you. It's actually just to make you think, because it's extremely true what I'm going to say. Maybe a week ago, I don't remember. I'm terrible. I'm great and terrible with time at the exact same time. We were talking about a relative scarcity within the cryptocurrency space and also the prospect of time. Time is something that fascinates me a lot. I know it might not for other people. I also like history. A lot of people also can't stand history. Years ago, long story short, we had something where someone was explaining the difference in price for cryptocurrencies over the course of time. I know that sounds very basic, but just hang on, it's going to make a lot of sense. This was a while ago. And the person was explaining, he said at some point XRP was 1 cent. At some point Bitcoin was 1 cent. At some point Ethereum was $1. And then if you look through the actual charts, you see that 1 cent became $1. That 1 cent for Bitcoin became 1,000. That $1 for Ether eventually became 1 to skip a few thousand as well. It was just about time and just about holding. A lot of the wealthiest people within this space, I don't know why, I can't figure it out for the life of me. They're constantly very hush-hush when it comes to accumulation and also like what could be the next big thing in that. Let's say you had figured out that Bitcoin was going to be like the thing that in 10 years everyone was buying. Logic tells me that I would tell other people so that other people can also have a slice of that pie. If you own all the diamonds in the world, the diamonds have no value. If you own all the gold in the world, everyone else looks at you. Why are you holding all that yellow metal? It does nothing unless everyone else also has some as well. So a lot of the wealthiest people over the years who were talking negatively about crypto, what have you, at some point we found out that they were buying up huge amounts of Bitcoin and XRP and Ether, blah, 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 over the course of multiple years because they wanted the lion's share. They wanted the biggest portion for themselves. And this is where we're getting into this situation where like they kind of own everything already and they want even more of the everything. But when you own everything, it loses value because everyone else doesn't have some of it either. So what we've seen is across multiple cycles is that as prices rise, a lot of people get into the cryptocurrency market. As they begin to fall back down again into the bear market, a lot of these people sell and relinquish their coins. So there are a lot of people, you've seen the things on Reddit before years ago, where people are like, there was one guy in particular that sticks out in my head right now who said, Bitcoin just went to $14 and I sold, I think he had 5,000 coins. I just sold it. He said, I'm so glad I left that bubble. It sounds insane now because at some point Bitcoin went to 100, then it went to 1,000, then to 100,000. This man would be insanely wealthy, but he assumed that there was no long-term prospect in a lot of this and therefore he got rid of a lot of his coins. One of the main things that actually started the other channel, The Modern Investor, is I was one of the first people to start talking about XRP. Everyone wrote it off. Everyone said it was garbage. And I was like, no, they're working with banks and institutions and with the Fed. And I was like, at some point, this coin will hit $1. And that was when it was below 1 cent. So a lot of people probably got into XRP around that time, bought however much they bought. And then when prices began to fall after the lawsuit happened, they probably got rid of all their XRP. And that draws us into the current conversation right here. There's an analyst within the space. His name is Ido Farina. You've heard of him maybe once or twice before. He's quite big in the XRP space. And he was talking about time. And he was talking about how people accumulate things and then relinquish it. And then tying both of our thought processes together, I have this thing where I get really annoyed when I see people in crypto. You know how, like I was telling you before, if you happen to cash out, take profits from the market, for the love of God, Don't buy a Lambo. Don't buy a car. Buy something that will like create profit for you. Buy property, buy whatever you like need that will continuously cycle extra money into your pocket. Don't buy something that's going to depreciate in value or whatever the case might be, because there are going to be a large amount of people probably even watching this video, but also within the cryptocurrency space, who don't think long term. They want to make quick, fast money right now during this cycle. Remember, we were going over, if you haven't seen, retail investors, everyday normal people who are currently not in the market, because the prices aren't pumping enough for crypto to be attractive enough for them. When the prices begin to pump, these people will buy, and this is usually what propels us to like these brand new all-time highs. Prices begin to go down if we are still in the normal 4-year cycle. And then those brand new people who got into the market sell off their coins. But then the rich people, realizing Bitcoin went to $300,000, the price went back down, but we're gonna repeat that once again. They buy up all the coins knowing that during the next cycle, we're going to hit those numbers once again. The people who sold their coins years ago then realize, oh man, I should have kept those coins. And then they'll do the same exact thing the next cycle. They'll get into the market, prices go up, they'll make a pretty penny, they'll spend it on some nonsense, they'll sell their coins within the market. And it's just this loop that continues forever. There's a lot we can talk about, but I'm going to try and not like continue segueing into one general direction. This guy said, and I mean, it's completely logical. Nothing this guy is saying is insane. His numbers are a bit higher than they should be just because of current economic situations, but I'll also explain that in a second. Ito Farina said, in the future, it is going to be near impossible for the average person to even think about accumulating or having 10,000 XRP. Now, the problem there is he even goes into the logical numbers. When he said this, he said, if you want to have 10,000 XRP, it'll cost you around 22,000 US dollars, give or take. If you missed one of the other videos, when we were going over like the current economic status of the world, the number we also got was also inflated there as well. There was an analyst who said he's a little worried. He's like, people don't have assets and like it's gonna down the line, it's gonna be terrible. He said the average person, he said half of America, he said 175 million Americans do not have $5,000 to their name or in their bank account or in savings. The inflated part is that the number is actually 500. If that doesn't scare you, nothing will. You are iron-willed. Sure. The number is actually $500. 175 million Americans do not have $500 in case of an emergency or in their savings. Right. So by the time you get up to 5,000, I assume that number is 250. How many? Never mind. I was going to ask, but don't tell people your business in the comment section. If we can then logically assume if people don't have 500, they sure as heck don't have 1,000. They sure as heck don't have 3,000. Nonetheless, 5,000. There's also a terrible phenomenon going on where a lot of people, I think the current numbers online are 25. So 1 in every 4 people within the United States is currently using a buy now, pay later scheme for their groceries. This means people don't have jack. They don't have jack diddly squat, nothing to their name. So when I tell you that you are early in the space, the stuff that you're accumulating is going to make you rich, I'm not trying to hype you up. It's just logic based on the levels of adoption that we keep seeing all the time within this market. If people keep buying up Bitcoin, the amount of Bitcoin on crypto exchanges will eventually disappear. Current methodology tells us in about 2 years, there won't be any left on exchanges. We can then logically assume the coin's price is going to skyrocket to $1 million like we keep hearing analysts say. We can assume that with Ripple working with a dozen central banks and doing this and doing that, you know the whole list. I'm not saying all 8,000 things that they're doing. At some point, the $2 XRP will be an $11 XRP, will be a $14 XRP simply from having bought and held. The issue then also ends up being is that a lot of people don't see immediate traction or something with money in the market, and their mind literally can't wrap around the idea that this might be better for me in the future. And I'll even give you, you know I don't like gold. I'll even give you something with gold. Years ago, gold per ounce, I think was, what was it? $700, $800. If you had simply bought and held, you would have a lot more money than you previously did before. This is the power of assets. This is essentially the power of inflation. Seeing the devaluation of the US dollar and other assets rising literally against the valuation of it. So even the idea, think about this. It is impossible for the average person to have even 100 XRP. Think about it. If they don't have 500, what makes you think that person would be willing to even think about putting their money into XRP or Bitcoin or Ether when they can't pay their rent, they can't pay their electricity, they can't keep their lights on? You have to understand in some sort of capacity or some sort of way how lucky that you actually are comparative to billions of people on the planet, but how lucky you are to also be in this market. It sounds insane when someone tells you if you have 0.28 Bitcoin, you're part of the 1% because it feels and sounds like nothing. When Bitcoin goes to several million dollars, you are leaving other people in the dust. If you have 10,000 to your name, 10,000 invested, you're probably part of the top 5% of people within the United States. Going on the basis of people don't even have $500 to their name. I remember seeing someone saying on Twitter, they were talking about XRP price predictions like for the future. And they were like, at some point, this coin is going to be $100. Just logically speaking, we don't know when, but at some point the price will get there. It might be 2, 3, 4 cycles, but we're going to have a $100 XRP. And then you think about it and you're like, if people can't buy 100 XRP, they sure as heck can buy 1,000 XRP. If the price goes to $100, it literally is creating wealth for people who just bought and held. I saw this and I was like, his heart and his soul were in the right place, but the number's way off. There's no average person who can afford to buy 10,000 XRP. Remember, I told you this years ago. I told you this. If the average person has a hard time buying 0.01 Bitcoin now, that's $1,000. How many people can do that? Think about it. How many people can do that? How many people can buy 1/10 of a Bitcoin? The issue then also ends up being when Bitcoin goes to several million dollars, that investment made a lot of sense, but a lot of people can't and don't see it that way, especially if you've gotten to the market earlier. Yeah, without having to like, I could go on for hours. He wrote a tweet and it said, owning just 10,000 XRP will be impossible for 99.9% of people. And it's not a joke. It is a complete truth and a complete fact. We are witnessing the wealth transfer. I know that seems inconceivable for a lot of people because people thought it would look different. Like people going out dancing and celebrating in the street with like money falling on them. No, this is it. It's happening silently. People are allocating money into this market and making sure that they own all of it. Last thought. Remember I told you before, I told you this maybe 2 or 3 times. I've gotten people telling me before in the comment section or through Patreon, they said that they were buying. They had a goal of how much crypto they wanted, whatever coin it might have been. And over the course of the last 6 years, they continuously, every other week, they were putting in small amounts of money to it and they got to their goal. If they hold on to that money, if they hold on to half of it and prices go where we're assuming that they're going to go, these people are going to be rich forever. Forever. There's nothing stopping them. Understand where you are and what you've been given. Understand that you are still incredibly early into this market because we don't yet have a $100 XRP. We don't yet have a $2 million Bitcoin. Yeah, right. Once again, it wasn't to make you scared or FOMO. It's just like understand, like if you get a chance, research an asset that you really like or something that sticks out to you. I don't care what it is. And look at the price trajectory of it over the course of a 10, 15, 20 years. It can be sports cards, Pokemon, it can be homes, it can be whatever comes to your mind. The point is just to buy assets and hold on to them. And I'll finish this all off by saying we are at the doorway right now of being able to stake XRP and Bitcoin. You literally are not only going to watch the value of those coins rise, you are going to be able to get passive income from doing nothing. You will get free money from staking as you watch yourself get richer. There's a reason why all the rich people are buying these coins. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.